BS.
What's up, my doodlies? It's Branky here, back from the bread and willing to go dead, I guess is what I was meaning to say. Anyways, we're here for Super BS, a podcast about video games mostly. We're recording a little bit earlier this week, so if we're missing some news when you get this on Wednesday, we apologize. We'll probably discuss that the next podcast unless it's taken over by bigger news. I'm joined today by my one and only compatriot. Who's it?
Joshers is my name today, author of the famous book Just Joshing You. Now available on Amazon.com.
And Josh.com, yeah. And he's also back from the bread. We're going to break some bread and bake some bread on this show today. That's what we're a baking bread podcast, which is the main thing that we've been trying to transition to. Okay, we've been pivoting all thing, if you haven't noticed us talking about bread. Okay, so this week is going to be a little bit weird because we are recording this fairly quickly after Gamescom, but earlier than, a few days before you listen to this. So we don't have a ton of news, so we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about those games that we've been playing. What have you been playing, Josh Thin of JoshThin.com.biz?
So I sat down on Friday, did a little bit of gaming with two games. I sat down. You had mentioned a game to me, which we'll talk about in a second, but also there's a game you had mentioned to me a couple weeks ago that I remember really digging the demo I saw at E3, and I was like, I would love to play that game. So I played it. It's on Gamescast. It's called Spiritfarer.
Dope. Love it.
And you are basically this young lady and her cat or dog. Still can't tell what it is.
I think it's a cat.
It's a cat. All right. Well,
yeah.
So Charon, Lord Charon, however you say it.
Yeah.
He is the guy that in Greek myth that ferries the souls of the dead into the afterlife. So in this game, he's ready to retire. He's been digging into that 401k.
Nice.
Ready to draw on that retirement. He's going to make some investments and stuff like that, but he doesn't want to drive his boat anymore. So you take over driving the boat, and basically you get to build things on this boat. You get to manage your resources. You get to plant gardens. You get to go fishing. You get to do all this fun stuff. Really digging this game. It's very calming. It's relaxing. In the way that you describe Animal Crossing, that's how I feel about this game. I can just kind of sit back, kick my feet up. There's no narrative that's making me anxious to move forward. I can just kind of explore things. I can talk to people. I can jump off the boat, though it serves no purpose.
You can get stuff in the water later. There's little packages you go find.
Okay. All right. But
swimming.
Yeah, I'm it's relaxing. It's like the music. This is what I like about these games. The soundtrack is not overpowering. You can hear the wind blowing in the background.
Yeah.
You can hear the seagulls going. It feels like you're out in the ocean, except you're not freezing like you would be if you were out there in real life. So it's a nice game, nice way to kind of kill some time. Very beautiful game. I love a lot of the hand-drawn images that are in the game. And it's, I don't know, I like to manage things. I don't enjoy managing things, but I liked it in the vein of SimCity and Roller Coaster Tycoon and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
This game feels good to play. It feels almost nostalgic in its own way. And I am really stoked to play the rest of this game.
Thunder Lotus, the company that developed the game, I actually kickstarted their first game, Jotun, because of the art style. They were kind of going for that time. Oh my goodness, this guy's name is escaping me. Don Bluth. Don Bluth style of animation, which is kind of the counterpoint to Disney. I think Spiritfarer
Rockadoodle, man.
Rockadoodle, the #1 film of all time. Rockadoodle-doo, man. I remember that movie having a very creepy element at the end. I don't remember the movie very well anymore, but I just remember as a kid there was a creepy ending to it.
It was very dark, and same thing with All Dogs Go to Heaven was like that too. It was terrifying.
That guy's movies kind of had that feel. I remember Secrets of Nim was also pretty terrifying as a kid. He just was a unique dude. So I've dug what I've played. Have you gotten to the part where you start building stuff yet or no?
Yeah, so I just installed the guest house, and
Okay,
now I'm at the part where I'm like building a kitchen and stuff. I haven't I turned it off right there because I had to go do
Yeah.
something else, but I'm excited to jump back into it. I've actually been thinking about it all day.
Yeah, I want to get there too. When we talk about what I've been playing, you'll see why I haven't got there yet. But yeah, it's a great game. I do plan on going back. I do wish Switch had something similar to Games Pass because this is on Games Pass, but there's so many good games, and I could totally imagine if this was on Switch or if I had purchased it on Switch, I would be spending more time with it than I do on my Xbox, where there's tons of other things to play.
You gotta get that sweet what Project X Cloud I think it's called.
Yeah, I don't think it's coming to
man.
Switch, and it's not going to come to iPhones either because of the Apple stuff. Which, yeah, I mean, we might touch on that in the news still because that thing is just crazy with all
it's
the
blown
developments
up.
every day. Yeah, nonstop, man. I'm curious if that's not going to be the news story that just never ends this year. What else? You mentioned you've been playing about 3 things. What was the other thing you've been playing after Spiritfarer?
So I've been playing. I downloaded Streets of Rage 4. Haven't really gotten a chance to dive into it. The animation style is really cool. It is basically like it looks very comic booky. Like they exchanged the pixels for like a comic book look.
Yeah,
and it flows really well. Granted, I only played like 2 or 3 minutes of it, and I had to turn it off. But that is something I'm excited to go back to. I plugged in the old Sega Genesis yesterday, so I played a few things on there.
Did you ever get one of those Genesis mini NTs, or I forgot what they're called? They have like something like that they released, like not the Genesis mini NT because that's the super expensive one. There's mini.
There's
Genesis.
a Retron.
Yeah.
Oh no, I never bought the mini Genesis. There's a Retron where you can has a cartridge for like Intellivision, Atari, Sega, and Super Nintendo. I think it is.
Yeah, they have one of those, and then the company that made the Analog Pocket, that thing we talked about a few weeks ago that sold out immediately, they also make a Genesis version of that where you play.
Oh, that's rad.
So, but they're always crazy expensive because it's actual real emulation plus all the other stuff. So, but those are so neat, man. I've been really wanting to get like a Game Boy so I could play like bootleg Mother 3. The Earthbound 2, essentially, because I've always wanted to play that game, but I sold all my Game Boys, so I don't really have a way to play any Game Boy games.
All the Game Boys? The whole family of Game Boys? You sold them? Put them up for adoption?
I put them up for adoption. I think I still have an original Game Boy at my parents' and a Game Boy Color. But my Game Boy Advance SP I sold. My DS I traded in for a 3DS or whatever. And then my 3DS I traded in for a new 3DS. And then my new 3DS I just finally traded in because I wasn't playing it at all after. Or I think I sold it because I hadn't been playing it for years and it was worth a lot.
Yeah.
And then I looked into it like last year because it was like, oh man, I kind of want to play Earthbound again. It's like, what does it cost? And it's like more expensive than what I paid for it originally. So I'm like, I'm not buying one of these, I guess. What's the third thing you've been playing? Because I think it's something I also may have played.
So I played A Short Hike. And
dude, how great is that game?
It's a great game. This was at your recommendation.
Oh my goodness, I love it.
It is very linear, but at the same time, it feels, I don't know, it feels open in its compactness, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you could say it's linear because there is literally one goal to climb and hike a mountain, but you could do anything you want on the way there.
Yeah, there's so many things to do along the way. You can talk to people. And this is another game that is very soothing, too. Like, you hear the sounds of nature. The soundtrack's doesn't overpower these sound effects. And it's, I don't know, it's like it feels, it's got like this campiness to it, you know? It feels like when you're a kid and you go on a camping trip and there's so much to explore. You just want to go see everything, you know? And like some of the side quests I did on accident, just picking things up on my way, walking around. That's
the best part. Yeah. There's no quest indicators. You just talk to a kid. He's like, "Hey, I've got a shovel." And it's like, this isn't the type of shovel you need. Can I have that shovel? And he's like, "Well, I don't have a different shovel." So you find a plastic shovel later, and you're like, "Oh, I wonder if I give it to the kid." Give it to the kid, and then if you come back later, you get a golden feather, which is essentially like the Mario 64 stars / they give you the ability to run and fly and stuff. They're collectible.
You need the golden feathers to beat the game. Like you can't climb the mountains without them. So I'm just kind of exploring. Like I haven't made it to the top quite yet. I need one more golden feather, but it's a very fun game. Like this is another one we watched. I think in the Nintendo Direct we were talking about.
Yeah,
this, but
in Nintendo Indie World they released that day.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth the $7 though. Like I feel like out of all the games I've purchased this year, like that's probably the one that I think is the most worth the money, which is kind of sad, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely like I mean, I've had a blast with obviously Last of Us 2, Part 2, all this stuff, but it's so hard not to be able to recommend, hey, it's $7. It's 3 hours roughly, so it's not like you're going to commit your whole life to this thing, and it's just fun. Like there's other hidden things that make your character faster and stronger, and I found the 2 of those in the game. There's 20 golden feathers. I have 19 of them. I don't think I'm going to go back for the final one, because then for that one, you either have to just become so engrossed in the game that you know every part of the island, or you have to look at guides. And I've kind of played enough of it where, like, I've done the races, I've done all the other kind of fun things that you get. But yeah, man, I love that game. I honestly, if it might make my top 5, I know it would make my top 10 games of this year easily, but it might make my top 5, and that's with like a bunch of games that I've been totally digging. Do you think you're going to finish it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I am right now. I'm more like wanting to finish Spiritfarer. I actually wanting to play more Spiritfarer. But after, I'm assuming by the time this week's over, I'm going to have finished a short hike. Yeah,
it's one of those games where it's like, you probably have 30 minutes left to, or even less, if you just want to finish it. I had enough fun that, like I said, I went back and did a lot of the extra side quests, if you will. But, I didn't go and collect all the hats. There's other stuff you can go get. I just think it's like incredible. I ended up watching a little bit of the Twitter of the guy who made it, and just stuff that he did to make it run so smooth. Because, if you notice, it's not like a giant island, but it's decently big, and there's no loading times, which I was like...
absolutely none.
Yeah, it's great. You load in the game one time, and it's all there. So one of the cool tricks that I saw him put on Twitter, I don't know if it was this week or when, but he made the water move around with the character so that there's not actually water everywhere on the island taking up like resources. So there's just like a square grid of water that follows your character around, and if there's other things sticking out, then the water stays under it. But this way, I thought it was really neat. So it saved memory and stop loading times. And because the camera is positioned in a way, you never know that. So yeah, it's really, really, really cool. I love the art style. Reminds me of the N64, PS1 era of games. I think a lot of people are kind of going for that right now, like that 3D polygonal thing, which, is like a refreshing break from the few years ago where everything was NES, SNES stuff. And I just feel like NES doesn't hold up super well, and SNES stuff like Super Nintendo, it's great, but at some point you just get so, it's nice to see something new again.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's refreshing, and it doesn't bother me. I think the colors pop enough on the screen to make it real. For example, if the dialogue wasn't there, this is a game I would be able to play without my glasses on, just because everything's so vibrant.
Yeah, you could see it. Yeah, that would have been awesome if they would have made it. Well, I mean, they needed the little bits of dialogue, and honestly, it was a game where I kind of laughed. There's a character who teaches you how to jump and run early on, you walk around. And if you keep talking to that character, they finally just yell, "No more, stop talking." So I thought that was really funny. I just kept talking to them until they went there. And it never, as far as I know, it hasn't reset. I don't know if there's a way to ever find that information out again. So this character is "Stop asking me." It's really sweet, and it's really funny. And it's a gem. I'm glad I finally played it. I know it was on PC last year, but I just didn't get to it. So I played that as well. And did you have anything else that you played this week, or is that kind of the main run of the meal?
That's it. That's it. That's my marathon.
That's kind of I'm in a similar boat. I had 4 things I played. One was Short Hike. One I played just for 30 minutes. It was a demo for a game that I kickstarted called Chained Echoes, and I sent a video of it to you and Dr. Donna, and it is a really cool Super Nintendo style RPG with obviously a lot better effects and stuff. So it couldn't actually have been done on the Super Nintendo, but it looks like around that level. And that was neat. I really can't wait for that to come out. I had to play it on PC, and I run a Mac, so I had to do boot camp and a whole bunch of other annoying things, or else I probably would have finished the demo. But I played about 45 minutes of it and then stopped, and I can't wait for that to come to Switch. It's kind of, There's some mechs, there's a bunch of other stuff, but it's not like anime, which is nice because that's kind of the main, RPG style from Super Nintendo stuff. Like Crosscode even has some anime style things to it. This isn't that. But that was cool. I also played another Games Pass game that was announced at the Indie World, Hypnospace Outlaw. Do you know anything about this?
I've heard of it. I don't know a lot about it, though. Tell me.
It's really cool. I wish I was playing it on PC. You'll understand why in a second, which is not something I normally say. So it is a 90s web browser emulation, essentially. Like you are playing as a monitor? No, not a monitor. What do they call them? The guys, a moderator. You're playing as a moderator for like a web forum, and it's your job to find people who are breaking the rules of the site by either using licensed images or swearing or harassment or whatever. There's 5 things.
Yeah, and I remember seeing the trailer for this.
Oh, it is. Oh man, it's so cool. But on Xbox and on, I assume on Switch, it's kind of annoying because there is like it's easier if you can search. And it plays, exactly like a browser. It looks exactly like a browser screen. The whole thing is really incredible. And it's really funny because like those old Zyngas and all the other 90s social media forums that they had, there's like silly music that plays the second you're on there and all of it looks ugly and there's horrible pictures and it just, it's so great. It takes me back to being like a kid in the early 2000s and looking at the internet and being like, what is this place?
You'd be playing Math Blaster and you get one of those pop-ups to ask if there's any adults around and you look around.
Yeah, man, it's such a weird time. But yeah, I can't recommend it enough to at least check out if you have Xbox Games Pass. And if you have Games Pass and you play on your PC, I think it's one of the games that's cross. So you just play it there because it's going to be a lot easier to type and do all the other things. But the main thing I've been playing actually, and it came out only 2 or 3 days ago because we're recording this early on Sunday, is Wasteland 3. Do you know a lot about this or no?
No, I've seen the logo on the internet, but I have not looked at anything about this game. Tell me about it though.
Okay. So Wasteland 2 was from the creators of the original Fallout in Exile, and they are actually based here in Newport Beach, California. And their creator, Brian Fargo, created Wasteland, I think first, and then Fallout 2. And then that's when the split happened and all the transfers of licenses. Anyways, Konami ended up getting the license for Wasteland. Brian Fargo bought the license back from them in 2003, 2004, put out some concept art in 2007. Sorry if I'm wrong about these numbers, but I just read about it. And then 2012, he went to Kickstarter and he kickstarted Wasteland 2. And Wasteland 2 is a tactical RPG where you create pre-made rangers not pre-made. You create rangers with stats and everything, and you could do stuff, but it looks very bad because it had a very small budget. So I had a really hard time playing it. I kickstarted it or I got it for cheap. And
it's a strategy game, right? Is that so? I'm looking at pictures.
A turn-based RPG, tactical RPG.
Okay.
So you move your character around, kind of like an XCOM. And so Wasteland 2 looked bad, so I never played it. Now, then they made Planescape Torment, which I know Dr. Donna played, and I played a couple minutes of it. That's similar to Numenera. If you've listened to Super BS from back in the day, Numenera is Planescape Torment, Tides of Numenera. That whole thing is all connected, or I should say Torment, Tides of Numenera is connected to Numenera, not Planescape Torment. And anyways, they then went to Fig, if you remember that platform. I want to say they went to Fig in 2014 or 2015 to kind of Kickstart, which is Fig was a kind of a crowdfunding platform to make Wasteland 3. Sorry about this long story. Anyways, the game was supposed to come out in 2019 before Microsoft purchased In Exile. And 2019 was the announcement. And so they postponed the game for a year. It was supposed to come out in May. It got pushed back all the way to August. Wasteland 3, like you just talked about, turn-based RPG. There is some you have a base and you're going to get characters to go to the base. You have a vehicle. You can upgrade the vehicle. You have these characters. Every time they level up, you get a certain amount of points that go to skills, attributes, perks, and skills allow them to do things like lockpicking or hacking or whatever. And you have 6 of these characters. 4 of them you can make, and then 2 of them just join your party. And for those 4, you kind of want to separate them, which I didn't do well when I made it. So you don't want them to have the same skills. because you might need to lockpick or you might need to do this other thing. And if any of them can do it, then it works. So if you have one person who's a good kiss ass, like kiss ass level 5, then they can get through a conversation for that. But say somebody just needs a hard ass and you have no hard ass characters, then you're in trouble. So it's kind of like plays like that Fallout D&D style thing where you have these attributes, you have these points, and if you have them, then you can do this stuff. But unlike Fallout, I haven't seen like you can try and it will fail if you maybe you can, but I haven't seen that yet. I've just seen like it's successful. Maybe you can try if you're lower and it will have a chance, but I haven't noticed that. Anyways, it's a blast. The combat is very XCOM. I don't think it's as well made as XCOM in terms of combat style structure. You know, you put your character somewhere, you shoot, all that stuff. But just between like how many options there are to either avoid combat or do a bunch of other stuff, it's super fun. And every time you level up, because you're building out these characters and trying to like essentially uncover more and more and more stuff, I'm just having a blast. Like I have an explosives expert. So if he sees a trap, because there's a trap somewhere, he can disarm it. But sometimes I get to a place where there's like a lot of stuff I want to loot, but there's IKey's not good enough to disarm it yet. So like now I try to remember where that is, and then I come back later once he gets stronger. I have skill books and all types of stuff. But yeah, it's a lot like Wolfenstein Youngblood in some ways. Like I play it and I think this could be so much better. Like I wish they would have put the resources into it to make it really nice looking and to play like a behind the back, like a Mass Effect style game where you run and then you do combat. Maybe the combat's a little bit more overhead.
That's what when you were describing the game to me, I was imagining it as some kind of like third person game. But then, I saw the top down view and realized that it's not that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's I think the worst part of it is the game's like really cool. Like the game itself is like super fun, kind of like Dr. Donna had with Greedfall. It's like a janky, fun game that is just I have so much fun playing it. But there are parts of it where you're like, man, this could be so much better if they had the resources. And I really think it came down to resources. I think they got bought by Microsoft late. They're probably working on something for Microsoft right now. The new project. That's what they probably showed Microsoft, which got them picked up. And they probably got some extra funding for this. But this looks like an indie game for the most part. It looks like a really, really high-end indie game. And that's like literally my only beef is that. Because it's made in Unity, so it has very bad loading times. So like I do lose interest when I have to go through multiple zones. And because you're so far away from the characters, you never feel like you're looking at the characters very well. Like you can't really see them. They occasionally zooms in so you can see like a couple conversation scenes, but it's not even all the time, not even all major scenes. Just feels kind of random. Like they had some moments where they're like, oh, we could do that guy. You know what I mean? And then they made like a really high detailed model. So, but yeah, I can't recommend it enough for Gamescast just because it's free and it's a blast. And if you like tactical games like XCOM, it's super fun. And even more so than XCOM, there's the overworld map stuff, which XCOM doesn't do, that I'm having a blast with, where you walk around and loot and find better weapons and find better armor and upgrade your characters. And there's perks that you can get based on your skills. And it's crazy, man. The game's good. Yeah, if you get a chance, you should play it. And I think anybody listening to this who likes that style of game should try it out as well.
All right. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, sorry, I yacked your ear off.
Wasteland 3 is not a wasteland at all, but a gym.
Well, we're going to come back in 1 second and talk about some Gamescom.
Super BS.
Oopsie-doopsie. We are back. Gamescom happened on Thursday, so just a few days ago, last week. And they did a big trailer because it was Jeff Keighley's Summer of Gaming or whatever. He had like a name for it. I can't even remember it because I felt like it was so disjointed I just couldn't care less. But his Summer of Games or Summer of Gaming or Summer of whatever. And this was the cap to it. This was the end. This was the finale to his thing that he set up. And so he made this 2-hour kind of like showcase, which was it was really well done. I actually watched the whole thing and I just skipped and skimmed through the trailers I'd already seen. But the biggest negative was I don't know if they showed anything new, and if they did, it was very small stuff. So most of it was either trailers that we've already seen or slightly deeper dives on things that we knew about.
Right. A lot of indie trailers. I noticed.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with big gaming right now. And I was talking with Dr. Donna about this over text. Is I am curious because the cost of gaming is so high to make, and because we are doing remote work for who knows how long. I am curious if we're moving to a future where there will not be many AAA games at all. Our topic today is actually going to be the top 5 hype games that we're excited for in the future. And there's a decent amount of games that have been announced coming out, et cetera, et cetera. But it really doesn't feel like there's this flood. It feels like there is like some stuff, and next year we might have 20 large games between all 3 platforms. Maybe there's going to be more than that, but it doesn't feel like there's going to be much more. So, yeah, Gamescom, I think, showed that. Like, there was very little big things talked about. Most of it was indie games. Some of those looked really cool, like Last Campfire. I don't know if you followed that one, by Hello Games, guys who did No Man's Sky.
Oh, yeah. I remember I've seen the trailer for it. I haven't, yeah.
Yeah, that came out Friday, I want to say. It's not my style of game, so I didn't actually play it, but it looked interesting. But yeah, did anything stand out to you from any of these trailers? Was there anyone that you're like, I'm kind of interested in this?
So there's a Sherlock Holmes game coming out that looks like it could be fun. It has a kind of Lovecraftian feel to it, mixed with a little bit of a like Alan Wake feel to it. It seems very eerie. So
speaking of Alan Wake, did you see the Alan Wake experience? I think either launched or was announced or something there. The what's that game called? Controls DLC.
Yeah, I didn't see. I saw the trailer for it a few weeks back, but I didn't see anything out of Gamescom for it.
I think they had a trailer at the Gamescom opening night live, which is what Keeley's thing was called.
Okay. I didn't see anything about it.
What did you think they Man, this is the one Donna talked to me about, but I just thought was whatever. What do you think about the Dragon Age segment of opening night live?
So, I don't know. They showed it, but they didn't show it.
They didn't really show anything. They just talked about how it's going to be cool.
Yeah, it's like a behind the scenes. It felt like a special feature on a DVD, and like we still, outside of that cinematic trailer, not cinematic trailer, but that little snippet we got to see at the what was it, Sony or Xbox showed? I don't remember, but
I think it was Xbox a while ago.
Xbox, yeah. We didn't really. There's still not a lot known about it, so it makes me wonder just how far into development is this? Is EA prioritizing this? Are they putting people back on Star Wars projects instead of BioWare? Is BioWare dying? Like, what's going on here, you know?
I don't know, and honestly, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people are probably going to disagree because I think a lot of people just wanted them to show it so they know it's still alive. I think it would have been better if they did not talk about it and not show it at all, because when I saw that, all it was people talking about how cool it's going to be, and then they showed what's called like wireframes, like not even real models that are set up trying to show the gameplay. And yeah, you're like, oh, well, after that, all you got to do is add all the character models, do all this other stuff. That's like the wireframing stuff's very early in development normally. Like that's not some like late end thing where it's like, oh man, all they got to do is add this thing. So I was talking to Dr. Don about it. I'm guessing 2022, 2023, 2024, the earliest. Like I think that was just like in Dragon Age Inquisition came out in 2014. So that will put it at 8 years at the earliest. I don't think it has a shot at all of coming out next year. Doesn't even look like it's halfway done.
Yeah, and on that note, there's no possible way they could be working on a new Mass Effect simultaneously, as we've been told. So
I mean, they're working on Anthem supposedly. So they've got Anthem and Dragon Age.
That there's no way they can do 3 big games at once. So I mean, I really wonder like what is going on? Where are the resources going to? What's the priority here?
I don't know, man. I was really disappointed by that. Honestly, like I said, I wish they wouldn't have shown it because that just made me feel like, oh, there's nothing here. Yeah. There was some more Call of Duty stuff. I think we talked about it last week, but the Call of Duty : Black Ops : Cold War,
Cold
was
War.
unveiled, I think like last week or the week before. I think it was last week, actually. And there's a character who looks like Robert Redford in the trailer. It's not, but he looks exactly like it. And there's a CG Ronald Reagan. It looks like it'll be cool, but yeah, it's another Call of Duty trailer. It's one of those things where like if I play it, and great. But
If not,
yeah, whatever. I'm
yeah.
not like I
What-
don't need to watch the trailers for it to know
What
what
were
I'm
your
getting.
thoughts on Medal of Honor coming back? I thought
Oh, the
I didn't
VR?
think we'd be. Yeah, I didn't think we'd see another Medal of Honor title, but
So-
I guess they're trying things out in VR.
They talked about this at one of the EA showcases, either last year or the year before, because I had heard about this. It looks cool. I don't have a VR headset, so I'm not going to play it. So, good for them that they're doing something. And yeah, honestly, for me, the two showcases I had, and one was just because the big names behind it. Did you guys see the 12 minutes trailer?
No, what is it?
It's like an indie game. It looks like it's kind of like Deathloop, I think. Like you redo 12 minutes over and over again. But they have Willem Dafoe, Daisy Ridley, and James McAvoy as the people that are voicing the game, the characters.
Oh, look out!
And it's an indie game, so I thought that was pretty incredible. Considering those are three, fairly large names. Like they're not the biggest now, but they're not nobodies. That was cool. And then I thought the Ratchet and Clank trailer. I don't think it was any better than the PlayStation 5 one, but I liked the last Ratchet and Clank game a lot. So I thought that was cool. I'm excited for that. But I mean, they could have said Ratchet and Clank, and I would have been like, "Oh, great, that game's gonna be good,"
exactly.
And I guess it has a launch window, which what does that mean? So
yeah, of course, they're still keeping that PS5 launch date close to the chest.
Yeah.
Crash Bandicoot, still kind of excited to play that one.
Crash
should
4.
It be good?
Does that come out in September or October?
I thought it was October.
That's probably October. I know, we got some Activision stuff coming up with Tony Hawk this Friday. It's gonna be dope.
Yeah, isn't there a new Warcraft expansion they announced too, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I literally just looked at that, but I was like,
Shadowlands
I don't know.
is what
I
it's
don't care. Eighth. I guess it's the 8th DLC for WoW. Great. Great for them. They've made it this far. I don't know anybody who plays it anymore, man. From what I've gathered, like the people who are with it generally don't like what it's become, and people like me, they lost at the first DLC. So I have no interest in this. They also took out like the skill trees from what I've heard, so the game's just kind of like you run around, smash stuff, and you get stronger. So I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, okay, you took out the one interesting thing I thought. Do you have anything else about Gamescom that you thought was interesting?
No, I mean, seeing the DLC for Doom Eternal, like I kind of now is making me want to go and play the game. I know you said you dabbled in it briefly.
No, I played the Doom 2016. I haven't played Eternal yet. I was gonna pick it up when it's on sale, and I still may when it's like $20-$25, which I'm assuming will be soon. But I never finished 2016, so I just don't feel like I need to rush out and buy this one when it's like I can't even convince myself to go through and finish the one I own that's supposed to be the better of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that and Little Nightmares 2. And then I was really hoping that the Age of Empires would be announced for console, but I guess that's still not going to happen. So that's unfortunate.
It is cool they're doing Age of Empires 3. That was the one I never played. So it's cool they're like remastering, but it almost looks like a remake. But yeah, Gamescom. Beyond that, like there were some neat little highlight trailers of some indie games coming to Games Pass and stuff. Stuff like Star Renegades, I think, is like a roguelite RPG that looked kind of neat. But overall, like I don't know, man. I thought it was a pretty weak Gamescom. Like maybe they're always this week, and I just don't know because I don't pay attention. But
there's usually like Microsoft usually has some kind of like trailer reel or conference there, but I think there's just the lack of the bigs there kind of made it.
Yeah. And you're
not
like
as
the
big.
you're the person that you're one of two people I know who love Borderlands 3. What's up? Why aren't they doing new characters? Like that was my favorite part of Borderlands 2 was they did DLC characters. And that was the thing we talked about when they announced Borderlands 3 that I was the most angry about and the most like, this is stupid, is that they did not have more characters. It was just the 4. And everybody's like, oh, they'll add them. They're not adding them. Like,
no, I think that it comes down to a matter of resources. Right now, like it's easy to throw Craig in there because he's an existing character. They have all the the things they need to make him. I don't think there's like right now. I don't think there's enough resources around to completely develop a new character from the ground up. That's my theory. It could just be laziness too, though, on their part.
No, I don't think you can't play as Craig.
That's what the new DLC is, isn't it?
No,
Craig?
No, you go inside of his mind. There is still no new characters announced.
Oh, that's lame.
That's why, I mean, that's like what I'm reading right now is that, yeah, you just go inside of his mind and then you don't get any new characters.
That's like the DLC where you go into Claptrap's mind for the pre-sequel.
Yeah, I just don't get why they think like they shouldn't add new characters, especially when I think that was the kind of coolest thing they did with Borderlands 2, because it's like gives you kind of a reason to play again. And as someone like me who didn't really love the 4 that they launched the game with, like it would have been cool for them to have that. Before we get to our main topic, because today's episode is going to be a bit short, I wanted to bring up, and I talked to you about this and Dr. Donna, this really cool thing called the WiiBoy Color. I found in news this week. Did you get a chance to watch that, the creator of it?
I didn't see the video. I read about it, though. Like, it sounds really cool, and I like that they used actual emulation for it.
Yeah, they used the board from the Wii in it, which was super neat.
And so what I was wondering, though, is, like, how easy is it to put new games on it? Do you have to have emulating software, or is there, like, a website that they have where you can just download things? So how accessible is it to the technologically challenged?
So it's not. I don't think it's one of those things where, like, if you don't know how to build a Raspberry Pi, I don't think you're going to have any fun with this. But maybe he does that for you because he's charging $1,000 to make one of these because he's using real parts and he wants to make some money. And honestly, it looks really cool. I don't think it's $1,000 cool, obviously. So I'm not going to get one. But, boy, it's neat. If you guys haven't heard of it, it's called the WiiBoy Color. It's really, really fun looking. It looks like a Game Boy Color, but with 2 joysticks, all the buttons needed, and then ZLZR on the back. It does sound so much fun to play some old GameCube Wii games, though. Like, I am really hoping the Switch steps it up with old ports, because Mario Sunshine has always been considered the worst Mario game, but I would love to play that game. I haven't played it in so long. Would love to play through that game again. But yeah, man, that's why kind of Gamescom brought me the idea, like, we needed topics about the stuff we're the most hyped for, because I feel like, especially me, I've been really down on this podcast a lot. Like, I've been trying to stay up and excited, but it's been a weird year for gaming, and more stuff keeps getting strange. And even with this hype thing, I think there's gonna be moments of just kind of like bummed out, like, oh yeah, this is supposed to come out,
when are we gonna see it?
Yeah, but I do want to kind of bring back the fact that there's a lot of cool looking stuff coming out, and we shouldn't forget that. So do you want me to kick it off, or you want to kick it off?
No, go for it, man.
Okay.
You start us off here.
These are our top 5 hyped games coming out. So we know that they are going to come out. That means they just have to have been announced by something. It can't be a rumor. So sadly, no Mario 3D Anniversary Package 2, because that
or
still
Mass
hasn't.
Effect Remastered. Can't talk about that.
Yeah, stuff that we don't know if they're going to do. So for my honorable mention, and this was really tricky because there's also that game with that raccoon, that really cool looking one, the 3D platformer that's never come out yet, where he evolves. You know what I'm talking about?
THQ. I was gonna say Sly Cooper. Is that the one?
No. This game, Biomutant. It's like a weird.
Biomutant. Yes.
Yeah. Like, so I almost wanted to put that in, but I don't know what's going on with that. So I put a game I know I'll like, even though I didn't play the first one, because I like this style of game. My honorable mention is Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines 2. And those are one of those Prey, New Prey, Bioshock, immersive sim style games, where from what I understand you gain abilities and you do conversations, kind of like Fallout, but way more like figure out your way around it. Deus Ex, from what I've gathered. So that's what I'm hoping for. I hope I'm right. I'm really excited for that. What are you, do you have any honorable mentions before we kick off our actual list?
I do not. I'm ready to just start this thing
Okay,
off.
you kick it off at 5 then.
All right, for number 5, I got Far Cry 6.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, looking forward to this one. I mean, I have a lot of big games on here. I don't have a lot of like indie stuff, but yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the last Far Cry game. I never played New Dawn, but this game looks interesting, just especially considering the times, all the stuff going on in the world. Like it looks like it could have some, I guess, perspective on in there, because that's what Far Cry's always been known for. And their gameplay is always very smooth, and and I'm excited to kind of dive back into that world.
Yeah, I think it looks really good. It didn't make my list, but I totally agree with you. I think it has a chance to be a really fun game. I actually also did just AAA stuff, but you're going to be like amazed when I go over this list of how many big AAA announced games there are and I think we're going to have a lot of similar ones. But I did start my number 5 with an indie. So take back what I said. It's not all AAA. I have one indie on here. This is Hollow Knight Silk Song. Did you get to play Hollow Knight on Switch or Gamescast?
No, I didn't. But I saw this one. I was reading about this one. Hollow Knight's got they've got quite the development history.
Yeah,
so I always enjoy reading about them.
I want to say it was originally kickstarted like a long time ago, and then it came to PC like a year and a half before Switch or something like that. I played it on Switch summer 2018. I actually picked it up while I was in Japan on my way over to China, and I played the crap out of that game. That game is so much fun. It plays kind of like a 2D Dark Souls, but it's also a Metroidvania, so you kind of go around and try to find things to make your character better, but the combat is extremely satisfying, where it's like every battle kind of feels like you could die at any moment. I love it. Dr. Tana actually totally, I think like 100% of the game. But it's totally worth checking out the original on Games Pass. Silk Song is supposed to be the sequel. You play as, I can't remember the character's name, like Thimble or, it's not Thimble, it's like Needle, I think is the name of the character or something. But you play as I think it's a female character from the first game, and you fight her a few times in the first one. They definitely, that would be like a Cuphead 2. For me, which hasn't been announced. All right, that DLC.
Yeah.
What is your number 4?
Number 4 on here, I have Fable.
I forgot
really
they announced
disappointed. Really disappointed by that trailer and lack of gameplay. But I am excited at the prospect of going back to Albion and seeing what that world is like. They always do a good job of like referencing the games before that, whether through like a statue or just kind of like a memorial that you find somewhere in the world. I'm excited to go to revisit that world and see how things have changed. Those are always been a fun game where like you are the main character, so the narrative isn't like super story driven. It's just something that you can kind of come and go into as you please.
Yeah, I think it would have totally made my list if, like you said, they had shown gameplay. That is like my literal beef with that was they didn't try at all. But yeah, I love the Fable games. I didn't play 3. And I did like turn it on and I played maybe 2 hours, but I didn't even get to the point where he becomes king, which I want to say people say is like the beginning of the game for the most part, because the game like expands from there.
Yeah.
I like the series. I loved 2. And 1. 2 was my favorite because you could gain gold while the game was sleeping or something like that. So
you made a lot of money.
Yeah, so I had tons of money and then bought all the other stuff. That I always like city managing aspects or city building stuff in games. And
that was something that it was, I think, in Assassin's Creed 2, right? They did that really well, where you were rebuilding parts of the city, and then you made money off of people buying things and all that.
That stuff, I get a kick out of that, especially if it's well balanced, where you're not like overly rich immediately, but you kind of have to still manage. They did that really well in Ni no Kuni 2, which that's why that game was one of my favorite PS4 games. My number 4 is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And right. I don't know if it's because the gameplay they've shown has me excited, or it's just because Origins and Odyssey made me a believer in that series again. Like, Assassin's Creed 2 made me a huge fan, and that's why I got Brotherhood, and Brotherhood was decent. It was pretty fun, but I didn't feel like it changed enough, so I kind of fell off.
Yeah.
And then I didn't play Revelations, I think, at all, and I played 3, and I did not like 3, so I kind of stopped playing Assassin's Creed. I think I got Unity at some point. It was whatever, and I never played Syndicate. I'm hoping for Valhalla being the best. Like it has that city building aspect again, that management aspect they said is going to be there. I hope it's fun. It's really going to be an interesting thing, and I hope it comes out this year. There is a lot of hopes I have for it. It's Ubisoft, so I assume it will. They're pretty good at not delaying stuff. But yeah, it's interesting. I really do. I have a lot of hopes for that game. That's a lot of fun. But
Yeah, I do too. Like that, honestly, like I told you last time on the last episode that like Odyssey is probably the game that I've spent the most time in ever. You know,
really? Oh, wow.
Getting everything, doing all the side quests, just really fully immersing myself in that world. And that was the first time in a long time that I would come home and I could not wait to turn that console back on.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really hoping for from Valhalla. Also, as well, like in incorporating elements of the mythology into it like they did in Odyssey.
Yeah, I hope they do that too. I am a little bit concerned after a game like Ghost of Tsushima came out. I know it's not doesn't mean anything for, Ubisoft, but it's just they had the opportunity to do mythology as well, and they totally were like, no, we're not going to do it. It's all going to be, bandits. So, and I have no problem with that, but I do like that mythology aspect, and I really hope Valhalla nails that Norse stuff. Maybe we can get some more like God of War style stuff out of them. What is your number 3?
Number 3, I got Watch Dogs Legion. Like I see more and more content involving this game, my hype builds more and more for it, and I like the aspect of like playing as multiple characters. I love the idea of like instead of having a protagonist that holds the story together, it's being held together by the antagonist, and you're a bunch of different protagonists. So that element is really interesting to me. I'm fascinated by it. Again, I could be let down. Like I was really excited about Watch Dogs 1 and was kind of let down by that game in the end, though I did finish playing it. But I'm really curious about it. So I feel some audible hype for it.
Yeah, Watch Dogs Legion almost made my list because I loved Watch Dogs 2, and Watch Dogs 1 I enjoyed. I know a lot of people were bummed out by it, but I still had a blast playing through it. I love open world games for the most part, as long as they're not Red Dead 2 and they let you have some fun. But yeah, Watch Dogs Legion, it and Valhalla are so close, which is the only mistake I think that Ubisoft did. I think these games are going to be a little bit too similar to release 2 weeks apart. So I hope Watch Dogs doesn't take the hit for that, because I think there's a bigger Assassin's Creed fan base, but it will be impossible to know. I can't wait for Legion. You're right, but I will be waiting for a review for sure on that, because I'm hoping they nailed it, but it was just such a weird thing when they delayed that from January to indefinite, and then it's like, oh, it's coming out in October. It's like, what was wrong with it the first time?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Why
exactly.
did you need 9 months? What was the problem?
What was all the extra time for? Yeah.
My number 3 is Halo Infinite. It would have been for this year, man. I was so excited for that to come out. Like I really liked 5. I hope that they add aim down sights to Infinite now that they're gone back to, sounds like, the drawing board on some things. But I don't know. I have no clue what the plan is. I will say, though, that trailer they showed looked so much fun to me with the grappling hook and the open world design that they sold me, man. I think it's going to be a really good Halo.
It had a like Just Cause feel to it, like the being able to fly around and shoot people while you're flinging around from the grappling hook.
Yeah.
Again, there's a lot of places where that trailer went wrong, especially like assuming that everyone caught up with who the Banished are, but
the lore part was rough.
Yeah, but I liked like seeing the map, right? Like you don't have to. It reminded me, in the first Halo when you land on the ring and you go to the little valleys where the Marines are scattered about. That's what it reminded me of, except on a much larger scale. So like I'm kind of excited about that, and just seeing like where the Halo story goes, because like this is. I was telling someone the other day, like Halo is something that, you and I have been playing since the 8th grade, right? So it's like one of those things where this is a game franchise, a connected game franchise that has literally been with us for over half of our gaming career as gamers, right? So it'll be interesting to see like I'm assuming that this is where the Master Chief story is coming to an end, and I'm really kind of excited to see how that happens, which is why I was so disappointed when they said, hey, we're moving it back. And hopefully we get this game by, March or April of next year. I hope it doesn't get pushed back to holiday 2021 because that would be really unfortunate.
I have no clue, man, because the rumor was it could be a 2022 game now, which is literally mind-blowing. But I hope that rumor's wrong, and I hope it comes out next year. But take as long as they need. If it's going to make the game better, I'm all for it. I just hope it wasn't because people are like, oh, it looks like trash. Unless it
Sony
actually...
fanboys out there, yeah, right?
Unless it actually did look bad. I didn't get to see a close-up, so if they're making it look way better, and they're not just changing the art style, and they're actually like making the assets even more HD, I guess, whatever, great, cool. I really didn't care about that. I would have been stoked to play in October, but whatever. I just hope the game they make is better for this time that we're going to have to wait. What is your number 2?
Well, we already talked about it. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and my number 1 was Halo Infinite. So you got the floor, my friend.
Okay, nice. Okay, yeah. My number 2 then is The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild 2.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
one. All right.
That's one of my Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild is like easily in my top 5 games ever made. For sure, it's in that list, and I can't wait for 2. It would have made my number 1. Except for I don't know when it's coming out. So some of my hype is a little bit low in terms of like, I don't know when I'm going to get to play it. You know what I mean? Like I think it's going to be incredible. I love the first Breath of the Wild. I have no doubt they'll pull it off again. But between the fact I know next to nothing about how it plays and I have no clue when it comes out, I am a little bit concerned. That's the only reason why it went to number 2 and not number 1. Because I totally want this game, but I just don't know if when it comes out, it will be the game that I want, if that makes any sense. And my number 1 is probably pretty easy to guess. Cyberpunk 2077. It was my number 1 most anticipated game coming into this year. It's still my number 1 hype game. I love the Deus Ex series. A lot of people are saying it's immersive sim with the RPG elements of like The Witcher in terms of conversation and dialogue. Give it to me. I love The Witcher 3. I think we just did a list not too long ago for top third party, and I think it was my number 1. Like I love that that company, CD Projekt Red, from The Witcher 3. Witcher 2 lost me a bit. It was way too janky and archaic, but I'm hoping Cyberpunk 2077, CD Projekt Red 2077, Cyberpunk 2077 comes out this year, because that's the reason why I'm hyped, is because it is supposed to come out it's November, right? They pushed it back all the way to November.
November. I'm predicting February or March, though.
I am so hoping you're wrong. That is like I'm excited for Tony Hawk. I'm excited for Assassin's Creed, excited for Watch Dogs. This is the game that like I am hoping will push us through to next year, because really all those other ones are I'm sure will be fun, but they're not like this, where like when it comes out, I plan on buying my favorite beer, staying up, turning it on at 9 or 10 whenever it loads, and playing it till like 1 or 2 in the morning. It is
nice.
I cannot wait for this game, but we'll see if it needs the time. It's already had a lot of delays, but if it needs the extra time, then it needs the extra time. I just want the game to be good. So yeah, man, that is it. We will probably come back with another top 5 next week. Maybe it'll be the Indies one. Maybe we'll do some other list. You never know with Super BS. It's crazy over here, okay?
Yeah.
At some point, I think we want to do this live video too. I don't know how we're gonna figure that out.
Yeah, we do.
We'll figure that out.
We'll get on it.
We'll get on it. Well, peace to y'all, and talk to you soon.
Peace.
Oh, yeah.